Hello, guys, and welcome to another edition of Pink Sock Podcast. Today, like usual, I am joined by my co-host, Tony.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going. It is an amazing time because we have a guy who's a very interesting story. He had a band about 40 years ago called the Stereotypes. They broke up when they were young lads, and then they got back together 40 years later for their debut album after 40 years.
It's a long time.
Yeah, and then they came out with this like a biography, like a movie about their life and their band, and it fucking disappeared. It just fucking disappeared. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you guys to our guest. He's going to come out to wrestling like theme song music. Here is the one, the only, Ashley Grant.
Hey, the lies and the right, the lies and the mistake. It doesn't matter what you do, you'll end up with a hate.
There he is.
Hello. Hello, Mike. Hello, Tony. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How's it going?
You good?
We're doing great.
Yeah,
great.
Good.
It's great.
I'm good.
It's great to have you on.
Thank you. It's great to be on. It's the first Stereotypes interview in 472 years or something like that. Anyway.
That's pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
we're kind of like the world's laziest band. So there we are. I'm proud of that tag.
Better late than never.
That happens when you had to start a band.
Yeah.
You just forget to do shows and albums.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Shall I tell you? Shall I tell you the story?
Yes, I was about ready to get into that. Tell us a little bit about the Stereotypes.
Okay. So we formed as a school band in 1979. I was 15, believe it or not. We did one single, one gig, had a row, and then split up. And that was it. We all went our separate ways, didn't speak again, nothing. And then about 5 years ago, I was contacted by Detour Records, and the owner of that asked me, am I Ashley Grant from the Stereotypes? And I think I am. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, look, are you sitting down? I said, yeah. And he said, remember that single you did, Countdown EP, in 1979? And I said, yeah, I do. And he said, it's the rarest punk single of the era, and it's worth £1,500 a copy. And I thought, bloody hell, that's a surprise. So I thought, well, look, what do we do now? I thought, I've got about 8 copies. Maybe I can sell some. And yeah, we had a chat, and he said, look, do you know where any of the other guys are, or if they're, still alive or anything? And I said, well, I'll try and find them. And I tracked down 4 members. One has never found. and we had a chat, and we thought, well, let's see if we can still hack it after like 35 years. We got together in a studio, and unbelievably we could. And so from Detail said to us, look, if we want to reform and do some gigs and we want to do the album, then he'll put a debut album out 40 years after the debut single, which is a world record. So that is what we've album, and now we're going to look to put it out.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So when are you going to go in the books? Like, when's that going to happen?
I've got the single.
Oh, you do? Let's see it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. What we've done in the time that we got back together, we'll put a download-only single out, and that's on Detail Records. And then the debut album will either come out this year, if this current situation allows us to play live or do whatever we need to do to promote it and let people know it's out there, or maybe I'll have to wait till next year to be 42 years. But once the album and you've got a physical copy of something, you can say, okay, that was the debut single, that's the debut album, then you can go in the Guinness Book of Records as the world's laziest band. Talking of the single, here it is. The original. Oh, come here, you. Right. Doesn't want to go on telly. Countdown,
awesome.
Stereotypes, original single, 1979. Only 100 copies made. In Record Collector magazine as the third rarest single that they know of, apart from sort of test pressings of Sex Pistols albums or what have you. And yeah, it's worth a lot of money. So if I ever find on Super Times, I can do something with that single. So yeah, just giving you a bit more info on the Stereotypes. So we did a film called Roll Stereotypes. We basically talked about how we got back together and what happened with the single and everything. And it was screened at a cinema in East London once. And in typical Stereotypes fashion, the producers had an argument and the film's never been seen again. So it seems to be a theme.
Hey, Tony, this is his first interview in a while. We might get canceled right after this.
Never to be heard of again.
Shit. Yeah, you want to be careful. You want to be careful with me. So yeah, that's what's happening. Debut album. We'll put it out. Kath, my wife, which everybody in the world knows on social media, she has suggested we do some live stream gigs, which is a bloody good idea. So we're looking to do that. So we'll, let you all know, or try and link up with you guys to do that. And yeah, we're back, and watch out.
So if you need to, Ashley, send me an email or something, or a message, or a carrier pigeon, or whatever you do. Just send me a message, and I help run a media site. I will post it on there for you.
Oh, okay. Is that Audio Vein?
Yeah, Audio Vein Entertainment.
Okay.
That's a little shout out, self-promotion.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do with Audio Vein? I'm interested in that.
I'm a writer for Audio Vein. I do different stuff with them. I write like album reviews. Sometimes I do live show reviews, which I can't do right now. And I just post news like this band released this album on this date. We try to stay away from all the drama bullshit that other companies have.
Like Blabbermouth.
Okay. Yeah, like Blabbermouth.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I do. And I help promote with it. That's why I have them in the intro and shit. And I do interviews, but because I'm running Pink Sock Podcast, we're kind of sponsored by Audio Vein. They help me get some of the interviews, and I get my own interviews and vice versa.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, sounds really, really cool. I mean, I've read one of your reviews, and as I've said, it's pretty cool. And as you know, that's why I did for like 20 years. So yeah, that's another part of my story.
So that's a little segue because you used to do interviews for a media company, right?
Oh, it's a music magazine. I worked for, as I say, 15, 20 years for English music papers. The first one was Melody Maker. And then I moved to NME, New Musical Express. And yeah, I interviewed lots and lots of bands, had quite a lot of experiences. And yeah, it was a great time. It was a great time.
I know you told me you wanted to tell me a story about when you interviewed Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh yeah, Weird Al Yankovic. I interviewed him on the phone, and I think the first thing he said to me was, "I'm sorry, I've got a really, really gravelly voice. It feels like I've been eating slippers." And I said, "Well, do you usually eat slippers?" And he said, "Yeah." And the whole interview was about him eating slippers and occasionally about the music that he does. But he was lovely. He was a lovely guy, and he's so smart and so fast. But yeah, really, really like what he does, and the the interview was a lot of fun.
Weird,
But
Weird Al doesn't do a serious interview. I noticed that.
no, he eats slippers. Apparently, he was in his hotel room. I think what it was that he was in his hotel room. I think it was somewhere really plush in central London, and they'd given him a robe and slippers, which completely fascinated him, and he just wanted to eat the slippers. So fair enough.
Well,
If I'd been
slippers are good. They're delicious. Put a little bit of ketchup on them.
Right.
yeah. There you go, kids. Eat slippers. It's good for you. You'll become like Weird Al.
Well, I read somewhere that Subway, the restaurant chain, got in trouble because they had the same ingredient as shoes. So maybe eating slippers is good for you. They were onto something.
Unfortunately, I don't have any slippers, so I can't try it. What about you, Tony? You got any slippers that you could try eating?
I got a couple Superman ones upstairs, I think.
There you go. There you go.
The cat haven't tore them up.
How many slippers can you eat, Tony? Come on, how many slippers can you eat?
I don't know. I haven't tested that out. Maybe I should get to that.
So Ashley, I really want to know this. I want to know this. I want to know this, Ashley, because you told me that you have a crazy Courtney Love story, and everything about Courtney Love is crazy. I want to hear your story.
Okay, so the guy that discovered Nirvana was the deputy editor of cheers love, was the deputy editor of Melody Maker, Everett True, and he went over to Seattle and saw Nirvana and did a massive promotion of them in the UK, got them on the front cover of Melody Maker, all that stuff. And lo and behold, Smells Like Teen Spirit became a huge hit. Anyway, Courtney Love decided that because Everett had made Nirvana such big stars, that he could make her a really big star. So she just used to phone him and hassle him all the time. And I was tasked with the job of answering the phone to Courtney Love to try and put her off speaking to the deputy editor, who's kind of busy, doing his job. And I just used to phone up with this, amazing amount of yak about nothing in particular. And, I want to speak to Everett. I don't want to speak to you, and all this stuff. And this went on for a long time. When I met her at the Reading Festival, it was her and Evan Dando, and he was completely off his tits. I won't say what. Anyway, I told her who I was, Zane from Melody Maker, and she said, "Oh, right, you can stay with us." And then what she got me to do was every time she wanted to go for a piss, she didn't want to use the toilets, which is understandable at a festival. So she wanted to piss under the stage, but I had to stand in front of the stage, so no one saw her pissing. And I've got, if you want another story, I can't verify this, but I was told by another journalist that he went to interview her, and they got a taxi from a gig to the hotel, and she asked him to wax her anus. But whether that's true or not, I can't say. If it wasn't me, thank God.
Only on Pink Sock Podcast where you hear somebody say Courtney loves waxed anus.
Yep, I'll tell you. I knew you'd like that one. You know.
She is a crazy individual.
Well, she's sort of full on, isn't she? She's somebody that very much wants to be a star, and no one is going to stop her. And I kind of respect that in a way. You know.
Here's a segue into the next thing I wanted to discuss, because you said that you were big into Nirvana and stuff. Since she was crazy and she would do anything for success, do you think because Kurt was so popular that she had him whacked?
Nah. I don't think that. Where was the mileage in it for her?
I mean, that's a lot of money that goes straight to her.
Yeah, but they had the kid anyway at that time, didn't they? So she would have, particularly in America, you know, when there's children involved. All I can say about it was by that time, you know, we'd kind of moved on. Nirvana was really big, and Melody Maker and Enemy were very much music papers that found new talent and discovered new bands. Like we discovered Oasis, for example. That was a chap at Melody Maker. Yeah, a chap at Melody Maker called Steve Sutherland, you know, came in. He was, he became the editor. He was, you know, really behind them and said, look, this band's going to be really, really big. There's another band, Blur, that I actually knew the singer because he went to an acting college where a friend of mine worked. So,
awesome.
You know, so we got behind these bands. So by the time, you know, things had kind of got to that point with Nirvana, we weren't so involved. But personally, having met her and spoken to her, yeah, she's out there and she wants to be famous, and she is famous, but I don't see the mileage in it. I think, unfortunately, much as I've spent many years being a naughty boy, it does catch up with you.
The reason why it is believed that either she might have done it or somebody did it, and he didn't kill himself. The reason why they think that is because his suicide note, half of it wasn't written in his handwriting. It was written in somebody else's. And that's the belief. And there's this guy that was interviewed. Since you're a punk guy, you might have known him. The singer of the Mentors, El Duce.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
He was in an interview for a documentary about this. The guy was trying to just find out like all the information he could find. And El Duce said in the video, he's like, oh yeah, I was friends with Kurt, and Courtney Love offered to pay me $10,000 to have Kurt whacked. I thought she was joking. Yeah. And he ended up dead like a week later. So I don't know if it's just mysterious coincidence.
I don't know. I saw the documentary. I mean, there's so many conspiracy theories about anything. We don't know. At the end of the day, we don't know. So, yeah, I mean, you know, all I can say about her is she's certainly a larger-than-life character. I'm not sure what her involvement with that kind of thing was, but all I could say is that, you know, I didn't get that impression from her. Another big name that I interviewed was Jerry Ramone, which was just, for me, the most amazing thing, because they're the band that got me into punk. You know, they're the originators. So
that's like the dream gig.
To chat to Jerry Ramone was amazing. You know Oasis, do you?
Mm-hmm. Good band.
Yeah,
yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, so I've got a good Liam Gallagher, the singer, a good story about him. Again, I was reviewing the Reading Festival, and I was standing there, and I was chatting to somebody from an indie band, because that's mostly who we kind of, reviewed, sort of alternative rock bands, whatever. And we're standing there. Liam Gallagher comes over off his tits, walks up to me and says, "Some panhead wants stabbing." So I said, "Okay, who?" And then he fell over. And that was it. That was, he didn't wake up. I didn't see him for the rest of the festival. Somebody carted him off. Blur, there used to be this hotel, I think it's the Ramada, that everyone used to stay in, all the bands, all the journos. And Blur were headlining. And after the gig, notorious alcoholic, the guitarist Graham Coxon, he spent the whole of the night, because we were all up all night, 6, 7 in the morning, comatose on the floor, and people, but between like where the tables were and the bar, so people actually had to step over him to go and get a drink, and they just did that all night. It's just like, okay, there he is, passed out, never mind.
That's great. So did you do you have any good Joey Ramone stories, since you did mention Joey?
Just when I was chatting to him, it's strange because by that time I think he'd sort of got to the point with the Ramones whereby he wanted to do other things. I know Dee Dee was doing his own stuff and he was looking to go into management. So a lot of interview promoting new bands, unfortunately, none of which I can remember or have heard of since. But yeah, I mean, he's just an amazing character. His story is so good. He spent a lot of time in mental institutions. He had terrible OCD. Apparently, he couldn't cross the road without going backwards and forwards 4 or 5 times. There was a lot of issues with him. But my best Ramone story was when I saw them, I think, for about the 4th or 5th time. I couldn't have been more than about 17 or 18, and I was at college. I got very friendly with this guy there, and I told him all about the Ramones. I was such a big fan, and I really, really wanted him to like them. I played him some of their music, and he said, "Let's go and see them." And I'd been to a lot of to their gigs and been backstage. They knew roughly who I was. I was a bit of an urchin in those days, turning up at all the concerts. But we went upstairs, and we were upstairs. I think it was the Hammersmith Palais back in the day, and we were standing there, and from nowhere the Ramones appeared, and all 4 of them walked towards us, and they really did look scary. They were typical, guys that live on stage and in the studio, ridiculously pale, white, and sort of tall and quite scary. And they walked towards us, and my mate, Martin, took one look at them and bolted straight out of the venue. I never saw him again. And the next day, I speak to him and I said, "Like, what the fuck was that? Why did you run off?" And he said, "Those guys were going to kick our head off." I said, "That's the fucking band." You stayed there for another 5 minutes, I would have introduced you. But hey, there we go.
So was the Ramones a big influence on your music then during the Stereotype days?
God, yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, they were the benchmark. I mean, when the Stereotypes formed, the reason that we were called the Stereotypes was that John, the guitarist who formed the band, he wanted to call us the Stereotypes because everybody was picking up a guitar and starting a punk band back in 1977, 78. So it was just like, hey, we're the Stereotypes. We're just another bunch of guys in a garage with guitars making a racket and upsetting the neighbors. But yeah, I mean, the bands that I saw, I started going to gigs when I was about 13 or 14. I used to in London we have the Underground Tube, and I used to sneak on that when my parents weren't looking, and go up to places like the Roundhouse and the Marquee in London. I saw all these bands like the Undertones, the Damned, and because I was so young, I got friendly with them. So when the Stereotypes were formed, it was well known at school that I was, as I say, a bit of a one. So they asked me to join as the singer. But yeah, we were so influenced by all the other bands, and but then we kind of developed our own sound in a way that it's just what we did. It's just what, you know. I think the way we've been described with reviews of the first single is just me trying to get in as many words as possible, and just everyone making as much racket as they can. And a lot of aggression in the music, and sort of hatred, I suppose. And that comes across in the album. We kind of still feel the same way. We still kind of, you know, have a lot of aggression and hate. Sorry.
Well, in the new single, the well, not the new one, but the single you have, 40 Years Too Late, it gave me a little bit of a like a Ramon Sex Pistols kind of feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that song, that was what we did when we got back together that first time in the studio. Is obviously we couldn't remember some of the tracks we did in that first gig, and James, who's now kind of the main guy in the band, he's the producer and plays bass. He's also known as X. So X. What he wanted to do was kind of remember that first gig. We did have a sort of very rough audio recording of it and recreate the songs. And 40 years too late, even though most people think it's about us, that we're sort of doing the album 40 years too late, it's actually, thank you. It's actually to do with what was going on at the time in the late 70s, because there was sort of a lot of right-wing bullshit, and punks were very anti-Nazi and used to go to Rock Against Racism rallies. So the actual song 40 Years Too Late is having a go at the sort of right wing and the Nazis that are sort of crapping on about, you know, their kind
What was the
of
scene like back in '79?
wild. I tell you
Wild.
what, I was, yeah, totally wild. I tell you what, and not a lot of people know this. I started, as I say, going to the very first punk gigs, 1975, 76. And what used to happen at the punk gigs is obviously it became, as you know, bondage trousers and safety pins and spiky hair, that kind of thing. But when it first started, the people that were going to the punk gigs were kind of fetish people in sort of rubber and leather and gimp masks. So it really was that kind of thing that was going on. It was all the weirdos and the freaks, and hey, you know, that just made me feel totally at home.
So you had all the Judas Priest fans then?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All the fans, and yeah, I mean, they were just, you know, it was all the freakazoids and me, and it was just mad, you know. I actually got, I did dye my hair green and orange, and I got chucked out of school for it. To which I thought, okay, never mind.
When you said gimp masks and leather, I imagined you guys as the original Slipknot.
I'm glad you mentioned them, because I was the first person to review them, because I went to see them in.
Really?
Yeah, I went to see them at Brixton Academy, and they were fucking awesome. And I wrote a small review on them, and then it picked up. The other band that I was first in on was a little band from Las Vegas you might have heard of, called The Killers. I was given a promo copy, which I've still got, of their debut album, Hot Fuzz. And the reason I was given it was the assistant editor of NME at the time said, "Oh, well, you're always bloody going to Vegas, so have a listen to this band. I don't know what you think of them. So I listened to them and I thought, well, they're sort of really interesting because they're kind of copying the indie bands like Pulp and Blur, but there's definitely something there. So they were really good. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. You'll listen to lots of bands, and some will come along, and you just think, yeah, there is something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to tell you my Spinal Tap story. You'll like it.
Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap. You have a Spinal Tap story, huh?
I have a Spinal Tap story. Do you want to know it?
Yes,
Sure.
I would love to know it.
Good. Okay. Here's the Spinal Tap story. I used to live in a bedsit in Finsbury Park in North London. And my friend next door was a musician like me. Anyway, so there I am, just one day, I don't know, smoking a spliff or doing whatever the hell I was doing back in those days. And yeah, it's Spinal Tap story time. Spinal Tap story time. Spinal Tap story time. Sorry about that. Anyway, so there's a ring on the doorbell. I open the door and I'm looking, I'm thinking, I recognize this guy, but I've got no idea who he is. I get knocked back by the strongest amount of aftershave I've ever experienced in my life. And he said, "Oh, yeah, I'm a friend of your next door neighbour. He told me you're a Spinal Tap fan." And I said, "Yeah, you look very familiar." He said, "Yeah, my name's David Caff. I'm Viv Savage, the keyboard player in Spinal Tap." And I said, "Right, you better come in, have a smoke, whatever." And we just spent ages jamming, Sex Farm, Big Bottom, and he was, as I say, he was very, very good friends with my next door neighbour. He was in a band with him, and obviously he relocated to California. But yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing, and obviously, and I had a little Bontempi keyboard, and that's a little tiny keyboard about, you can't see, it's about as big as that. And he basically sat there and just played all the hits on it, and I sang along and played guitar.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So yeah, that story goes to 11.
Since you're a fan of Spinal Tap, have you heard Derek Small's new solo album?
You're kidding me. He's done a solo album.
Yeah, he released it 2 years ago. He did a full tour with a full orchestra and everything. Yeah.
Has he done Saucy Jack?
I believe. I don't know. I don't know what he did.
That was his plan, wasn't it? When it all went wrong in Tap, that they were going to do his Jack the Ripper musical, Saucy Jack. So maybe he did that after all these years.
It was funny because he did do a full orchestra, and he released a song with Dweezil Zappa. Actually, MRI was the name of it.
Yeah. Okay.
The whole album. Good. The whole album's about him getting old. It's called "Small's Change." Something about meditation of the age or something. Like he's getting old. That's the whole point of the album.
Oh no, I'm definitely going to check it out. I'm definitely going to check it out.
Do you have any? Do you have Spotify or anything? Because it's on there.
Oh, okay. No, I'll check it out. I might have it. I don't know. I'm old, you know. So
well, since you said Spinal, since you said Spinal Tap, we're going to do a little segue into. You told me about the Outer Active Trance band, your drug years. You wanted to talk about. That's a little Spinal Tap stories right there, real life.
Oh. So while I was working for Melody Maker, I got invited down to this club in Finsbury Park called Club Dog, and they were playing music, dance music I'd never heard before. I mean, this is back in like 1989, 1990. So I got really, really into the scene, promoted on the front cover of Melody Maker, you know, really got behind it. And because I was doing music stuff, I wanted to do something myself. And I formed a trance act called Outer Active. 2 words, Google it. Google Interactive Trance, and me and Bill's the other guy that did it would just it was just really, really, really good, and it took off. And the next thing we knew, we were playing to just like 100,000 people, going around Europe, putting stuff out. We had a couple of singles on albums that got in the charts back in the UK. Apparently, one of the tracks went to #1 in Switzerland, but I don't think you need to sell more than one copy to do that. So I don't know what the story is for that one. I mean, I'd say, yeah, you're #1. I thought, okay, what does that mean? Is that like extra dope or something? Cool. We did. Most of the time we played in the UK, in Manchester, Birmingham, Brixton in London. But yeah, I mean, it was totally wild. I mean, there's no two ways about it. We were, what we were doing was to make people's work. That's totally what we were up to. And they very much appreciated it. One of the gigs we did, we played in a place called Nottingham, which is rough as fuck, man. It is heavy duty. And we did we did this gig. The first thing that happened when we got there, it was a venue for about, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 people. And the first thing that happened was we turned up. It's just us, our equipment, few crew, and about 20 really big guys turn up, go up to security and say to them, "We're the security for the night." And they say, "Well, no, we're not. No, you're not. We're doing it." And they pulled all these guns on them and said, "No, we're the security." And I thought, okay, they're the security now then. So we did that. We did. Thank God they liked us, because they would have bloody killed us if they hadn't. So we did the show. The promoter got robbed, but we amazingly got paid. And we said to him, "Look, guys, if you're not got, don't worry about paying us." And he said, no, I'll put that to one side. Anyway, a whole mob had found out that we got paid, and we actually got chased out of town. We're in the back of the van driving out with about 50 people chasing us. And it's like, okay, we survived that one. We played up the north of England in Newcastle, and we did the sound check, and we sat down and had a drink. It was at Newcastle University, and then about 15 guys walked in, and they're sitting there staring at us. It's just me and, the other guy in the band, Bill, stoned off their tits, just sitting there minding their own business. And they came over, and suddenly from nowhere, the promoter shot out and said, "For God's sake, don't beat them up. They're the band." They were going to kick our heads in, but luckily we got away. And again, they really liked us. So basically, wherever we played, it was sort of very heavy duty, very Wild West. But because they like the music, I'm still here to tell the tale. So there we go.
Since you sold #1 in Switzerland, did you play Switzerland?
Yeah, that was amazing. That was amazing. That's probably some of the best concerts that we've ever done. There's a great story with that. We did a show in Switzerland. While we were playing, people were coming up to the stage and giving us spliffs while we were playing, which was just, please, people, do that more often. All the bands like it. Trust me, I know. So yeah, we did. Sorry, we did this gig, and somebody came up to us afterwards and said, "Do you want to do like, a rave? Come and, do another show." And we're like, "Yeah." So we went into this forest, and what they did was they lined up all these like tea light candles all the way into the forest, and put the word out. I don't know, 500-600 people turned up, and we did the show. It was amazing, under the stars. Everyone was absolutely wrecked. It was brilliant. And then we came out, and they said, "Right, now we clean up." And we spent the whole time picking up every bit of evidence that we were there. Any twig that was out of place, all the tea light, all the equipment. The whole time the cops were circling thinking, we know they've got a rave going on, I don't know where it is. And we went out, and that was just the most amazing show. And I had no idea it happened. It was wild. It was wild.
And they say that people that do drugs are lazy. What the hell?
It depends what drugs, dear.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you being an English teacher in a prison. That's got to be insane.
Oh, okay. So I don't do drugs now because I can't get any. But no, I'm too old for that game. But I mean, you know, the rock and roll industry, it's party time. But yeah, the party's over, and it's
Right.
you know, kids don't do drugs. They're bad for you. They will kill you and make you a complete idiot like me. So there. So teaching English. Oh yes. So me and Kathy, we moved to Milton Keynes a number of years ago. We were looking for work, and I saw a job for, I think it was database designer or something like that. And I went to the interview, and I just couldn't do it at all. I didn't even know what they were talking about. And they got back to me and they said, well, you're a complete fuckwit when it comes to this designing stuff, but we think you'd be really good as an English teacher. And I thought, well, okay, I've got an English degree that somehow I managed to scrape together. And I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And it was in a high security prison. So my job was teaching people who'd gone to prison for murder and that kind of thing to read and write properly and speak English if they were foreign nationals. And yeah, it was a very interesting job.
Interesting to say the least.
Yeah, dangerous too.
Oh yeah, my favorite student was in prison for murdering his teacher at school.
You made it out alive.
So yeah, so no one would teach him. They're like, well, you know, we're not going to fucking teach him. He's already done it once. So I said, no, I'll chat to him. And he was, you know, like with most psychopaths, he was very, very, very intelligent. And I think the reason he killed his teacher because she didn't sort of respect his, you know, high intelligence. But I don't know. I thought it was best not to ask. But yeah, I mean, you know, we had some good lessons and I taught him stuff. But to be with you, he was sort of better English than me. He just probably wanted someone to chat to.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there were lessons where I'd be like talking about, let's see, talking about, I don't know, conjunctions, joining words and sort of the evolution of language. And suddenly a chair would go flying through the air and there'd be a massive ruck. And I think, lesson over.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. You guys should write a song about that.
Yeah, I should do. The track that I've got, the Stereotypes debut album coming soon, honestly, is called I Hate Work. And it's my universal song about how much I hate work. Because I spent a long time working. And yeah, I hate it, really. Although Kathy tells me I've got to get another job. So yeah, I probably have got to go back to work, maybe. We'll see.
We all hate work. If we could make a lot of money off what we want to do, none of us would work.
Yeah, I think so. I think that, you know, there's been times in my life where that's been the case. When I was in the Trance Act, you know, we were making a decent amount of money from the shows and stuff we were putting out and the writing stuff. It's just, you know, finding something you like doing. You know, there are things. I mean, say English teaching, there were times with that I really enjoyed it. If I gave, you know, somebody the ability to write a letter to their kids or that kind of stuff, you know, that was really good. That was really good. So I may look to do something along those lines as well as doing the band, because yeah, it is rewarding, you know. So I mean, I know, having gone and lived in Spain for 3 years, that learning another language is fucking hard. And now I respect, you know, I respect the students that manage to pull it off. Certainly with me teaching them and chatting a load of shit like I usually do.
So whatever happened to the Outer Active band? Like, did you guys just run your course and then you went your separate ways, or?
Oh, well, with Interactive, you know, it was always going to fall to pieces in terms of, you know, drugs and women and fuck knows what else. I mean, you know, it was always going to self-destruct. And yeah, that's pretty much what did it. You know, I think the 2 years that we were really successful, or 2 or 3 years, you know, we were 100% committed to that. But then, you know, both of us met people and our focus went a little bit and caused problems. But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. I remember we did a hometown gig. I'm from Ilford in Essex, where the Stereotypes are from as well. And yeah, just outside London. And we did a hometown gig. So Interactive played the Odeon in Ilford, big venue.
That's a legendary venue.
Yeah, that people have even heard of. But yeah, so we did this gig, and we did it. We co-headlined with some mates of ours, Cosmosis, and just before we went on stage, Cosmosis came up to us and chopped out these huge lines of God knows what, and said, "Go on, we dare you to snort this before you go on stage." We're like, "Yeah, fuck it, whatever." So we did, and it was pure MDMA. And apparently, I did the whole gig with like this big Cheshire grin on my face. But again, we pulled it off. I don't remember cool about it. But yeah, I mean, you know, as I say, it was of the time, and yeah, I mean, let's not lie. We live in that, you know, if you go that high with everything, you will come crashing down. And there were periods in my life where for like 2 months I was just sort of, you know, ready for the bin, to be honest with you. And you know,
that's why I think the laws of physics don't apply to Keith Richards.
What is going on? Unless he's lying. Unless he's a total pussy and he just doesn't do any drugs at all, and it's just all yap.
Yeah.
It's just all a lie.
I mean,
Yeah,
Ozzy's starting to pay the price for all the stuff he did.
Yeah, he's falling apart.
Oh, yeah, it's wild, absolutely wild, man. I mean, he's really, you know, and yeah, he's falling. And there you go. That's as they say, what goes up must come down. So
Yeah.
you know, you got to take that on board. My God, you're a cool dude. Look at you. I'm jealous.
Let me. The name's Ozzy fucking Osbourne. No. So
okay. Yeah.
I've got a little bit of questions from the chat here. I kind of was neglecting the chat because we were so in conversation. Your wife wanted to know, is there any bands that you want to support when gigs start?
Yes, absolutely. I'll take the mask off. I'll put it back on when I'm talking about the Stereotypes again. Okay. I absolutely, when we start playing live again, I really, really want to play with the original punk bands of the day, who amazingly are still going. So I'd really like to play with UK Subs, The Damned, who's one of Kathy's favourite bands, and I kind of know them. And she used to dance in a cage for the Damned. Don't know if you ever knew that, but yeah. So certainly the original punk bands, because we are an original punk band. We are from back in the day. We are, you know, we were there and we're here now. So yeah, that's what I'd love to do. Just support some of those really, really good bands. And I like a lot of the new American punk bands as well. So yeah. If you want us, we're here. Come and get us.
What's your favorite American punk band?
That was my question.
Well, Ramones.
The Ramones.
Yeah, Ramones. I mean, totally. Yeah.
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite modern punk band?
I like some of the stuff Green Day do, and I think they're a really, really, really good live band. But I think, to be honest, the most interesting stuff from America, certainly in the last 10 years, has been the rock stuff. You know, moving on from Slipknot and you know, all those the rock scene in America has got really, really interesting. So there's some great bands. Murder Dolls, they're really good. You know those guys.
Wednesday 13.
Is it Pierce the Veil? Wednesday 13, Pierce the Veil. So yeah, I think although there's some great punk bands, I think they're more underground. And if I was over in the States, I would go and check them out. But I think the really exciting stuff is coming from the alternative rock scene in America. I think it's really, really good stuff, you know. And we do have lead guitar solos in the Stereotypes. So if anyone likes rock,
that's awesome.
Listen to us. Yeah, have a listen to us. I mean, we did back in the day, back in 1979. We've got solos on all the tracks. So yeah, come and check us out. If you go to Facebook,
I got it for you, buddy. Hold on 1 second. Right there.
Yeah. Check it out. Have a listen. There's some good stuff on there that you can check out. So yeah. That's the solos are there, but it wasn't me playing them. I can play the guitar, but I'm not that good.
Speaking of lead guitar, didn't you guys have a problem? Didn't you guys have a problem finding your lead guitarist?
Never found him. We've got no idea. He's the one guy that we couldn't track down. We got the drummer, who we found out was chief superintendent of London Hackney Police. So he was a bit embarrassed when all this stuff came out because, he's some like super cop, but rejoined the band. James or X, we tracked him down. He was a music teacher, so he kept it going. And John, the original member of the band, we tracked him down, and he comes and plays sometimes. I mean, he's sort of allowed to do whatever he wants within the band because he wrote a lot of the original songs. And it's very much an organic thing. Like stuff just happens and we just do it. And that's kind of the way we like it, really. And me, I'm around. Lead guitarist was Jacob Levy. Yeah, he's my friend from school. Yeah, he's from a rival grammar school, so maybe that's why we could never find him.
That's great.
There we go. Any other questions?
The days as a pirate radio person on Red Bridge Radio?
Say that again?
The days as a what was it? A pirate radio?
Jacob wants to know. Wants you to tell us.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Somehow I'm still here and not in a hospital. I've got no idea how. Yeah, I did when I was at school. I was I was a pirate radio DJ. I think I called myself Ashley King, and I used to stand by a phone box, and people would phone up on this phone number and request songs that then I'd play on pirate radio, Red Bridge Radio. That's quite right. That's what it used to be called. And some guy phoned up and said that he just got back with his girlfriend, so could I play something for him? And I played "The Bitches Back" by Elton John, and and he put a hit on me. So it's true, because it was a pretty rough area, and I remember sitting on some swings, and this chap said to me, "Oh, are you that bloke from the radio?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I'm supposed to beat you up." And I said, "Right, okay." And he said, "Well, I'm not going to beat you up, but could you just tell people that I did beat you up?" So absolutely, no problem. You know, I don't want you to sort of lose your reputation or anything. But yeah, you know, it's always been like this. I don't know how the hell Kathy puts up with it. I really, really don't.
So Ashley, your whole life should be like a British comedy.
Oh, it is. It is a comedy. It's a comedy of errors and fuck ups, and it's all been me. You know, I've made just, you know, whatever. It's a roller coaster ride. You just go on it and see what happens, and you know, you never know what's coming next.
I feel like you're telling me the story plot to like a Monty Python movie.
Well, yeah. I'm now. The surprising thing is, I'm telling the truth. So it's kind of, you know, it's just, oh bloody hell, here we go. Unless you're going to the toilet. Hold on 1 second. I think I've got somebody who wants to come in. I think you might know her. People out there. Hold on.
Oh my, we have a special guest joining us.
Yeah, up the window.
That's a lovely and beautiful guitar back there.
Right.
Right.
Oh no, it's your cat.
Oh bloody hell!
Oh, that's a beautiful pussy you have there, Ashley. I love your pussy, Ashley.
Hey, man. I've been married for 20 years.
What's funny is I feel sorry for the people that's just listening on Spotify. I'm like, nice pussy you have, Ashley, and it's a dude's voice on the other end.
Where is she gone? Kath, come back. They want to say hello. Kath. No. God, lightweight. I don't know.
What'd she do?
Can't
Leave?
take that heat. What? Yeah, no, just come in. They want to say hi. Do you want to say hi, don't you, Mike?
Yeah.
Tony?
Yeah.
They want to say hi.
I paid the money for the cameo. Just come on here.
Oh, here we are.
Oh,
Kath,
come on.
They don't want to see your pussy. They want to see you.
We might get kicked off here if we see that. Oh no, I got a funny story to tell you, Ashley. I had to edit a video from a couple weeks ago because Tony decided it was a smart idea to show a picture of two old fat guys butt fucking on a beach.
Yeah, that's reasonable. That's reasonable. It's about time we got into this kind of thing anyway. Yeah, it's a good story. I went to Amsterdam when I was about 17 to like check things out, and went with a friend of mine, and yeah, it's really weird. The hi Lynn. We went to the cafe and watched what was going on, and the red light district in Amsterdam is right next to a church, so they've got like church services on and all these girls in windows. Anyway, we're wandering around there, and there's some porn stuff, and this guy shouts to us, come in, and we thought, well, look, we don't want to buy anything, we're just like checking stuff out. And he said, would we do him a favor of watching porn videos and telling him whether we thought they were any good, because he'd seen so many, he couldn't tell whether they were any good or not. And we sat there all night and smoked. I watched all these porn films and said, yeah, this one's not so bad, that one's quite good, you know. So we did our duty while we were in Amsterdam.
You're a porn reviewer. What the fuck?
Porn reviewer, yeah.
So-
You know, after a
we
while,
had-
it does start to get a bit kind of dull, but depends what's in it, doesn't it? Really.
We asked this question several episodes ago. Since you brought up porn, let's ask it. What's the weirdest porn you've seen since you were a porn reviewer for a little while?
This.
You win. You win that question.
Thank you. What about you then? What about you? What's the weirdest porn you've seen?
The weirdest I saw until my buddy showed me this video because he was the one that answered the question. The weirdest one before that was a guy sticking his head into a vagina. But
Okay.
but after that, my buddy sent a video of this woman, I think it was, opening another woman's butthole and pouring milk and Fruit Loops in it and eating it.
That takes the cake.
Nice one. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's sort of it's all out there. It's all out there. I tell you, with that kind of porn scene, when I was working at Melody Maker, I was at a gig and this designer guy, French guy called Claude, came up to me and he said, "Look, I do designs of clothes and what have you, and I'm running a club in North London. It was right near where the Outer Active studio was." No, Alex, you won't. He said, "Come down." I went to the club and it had a swimming pool. And I'm like, yeah, fucking A. I mean, like 3 o'clock in the morning, I can just go to this club, swim up and down, do a bit of exercise. Fantastic. But it was a fetish club. But I had no interest in that at all. I just was interested in getting a free swim in. But yeah, I mean, the stuff that went on in there was just like, you know, okay, if that's what you want to do, that's okay. But I just want to swim, man. You know, that's the way I get wet.
Well, I saw this video since you mentioned seeing crazy shit and it not bothering you anymore. There's this video of Ace Frehley of Kiss watching Two Girls, One Cup, and he's like, "Oh, I've seen worse on the road." Like he brushed it off.
How's he seen on the road? I've never seen that. I thought they pissed in a cup and drank it, but that's not the case, is it?
No, they shit in the cup.
I remember, do you know the drag artist Divine who did that song, You Think You're a Man, but you're only a boy?
Yeah.
He did a video where he got a poodle did a shit on the floor and he ate it, and that's how he became famous. So apparently, you know, it's Gigi Allen all over again, isn't it? Really?
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, did you ever get to see Gigi?
No. I mean, he was around. He didn't come to the UK that much. I saw most of the bands. I mean, I saw David Bowie, and he was amazing. You know, saw lots of artists that weren't necessarily my cup of tea, but you want to see them and see why they're so famous. Like George Michael, he was just unbelievably good. Bryan Adams really surprised me. He was really good. So certainly as a musician, you can respect artists that you think, okay, well, it's not my thing, but if you're really good at it, it comes across. And I honestly don't think that you can become famous in America unless you've got the X factor, because it's too big. Too many people have to like it for you to become a big star in America. So with new acts, with new acts out there, whatever we think of them, you know, be it Taylor Swift or the Grandy woman that's appeared in the last few years, they just wouldn't be there unless there was something about them. You know,
well, in America, it's weird. Either you got to be really loved in America or really hated in order to make it.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the two.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, Tony. Yeah, that's really true. That is really, really true of America. It's sort of notoriety, isn't it? The sort of Marilyn Manson factor. Um, and yeah, I got Kathy, who you saw briefly, and her pussy. I got
Alice.
Alice, yeah, named after Alice Cooper. I took Kathy to see Marilyn Manson. She didn't really know anything about him, but I said, look, he's apparently a big goth person, and she was a goth back in the day and kind of still is in a way. And, you know, took her to see Marilyn Manson. It was a brilliant, brilliant gig, you know, and it was just after the Columbine stuff. And that made him famous because he was so hated. And if all the I get the impression if all the rednecks hate you in America, then all the cool kids like you.
Right.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah. Did you ever get to see Sabbath when they were coming up?
That would have been a little bit before my time. Not Sabbath. Iron Maiden.
Maiden, yeah. Judas Priest.
Yeah, I was not Priest, but with Maiden, I was. They're from Ilford in Essex, where I'm from. So there used to be a rock club there that I went to, and Steve Harris and the other guys were there, and I used to chat with them. And they got Bruce Dickinson. Yes, that's right. Once
For life,
always a goth. Yeah, absolutely. Just ask the Eye bottle. So with Iron Maiden, they got Bruce Dickinson in, and I know with him that he used to live in, I think it was Bow in East London. I know he was in Samson before Iron Maiden, but he used to practice all that high-pitched screaming all the time, and he actually got evicted from his flat because all his neighbours got together and kicked him out because he was just all the time. But paid off. Yeah,
I can't believe he could still sing that good.
Oh yeah. If he's not flying planes. So what about you guys? Who are your favourite bands?
Ooh, that's hard.
Ooh.
This turned into an interview on us.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd almost have to say.
I can do it.
I'd almost have to say it's a mixture between like Metallica, Pantera, Black Sabbath, Zeppelin, stuff like that.
All the really, really good ones. About you, Mike?
Black Sabbath, Megadeth. Those would be my top big ones. Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, bands like that.
Really big fan of Rainbow. Or anything Dio does, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that was the scene when I was growing up, was heavy rock. Those were the bands that, obviously, the sort of mid-70s, just before punk happened, it was all the heavy rock bands and the prog rock bands like Genesis and Yes. The first band I got into, really, was the sort of glam rock bands like The Sweet and Slade and all that kind of stuff. And when you listen back to that stuff now, that is really, really good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw The Sweet. I couldn't have been more than about 12 years old. I saw them do a gig, and that was, that's what really kind of set me off. And then Ramones, I went to see. Those guys are metalheads.
We may be metalheads, but I'm a thrash guy, so I have a deep love and respect for anything punk because that's where our music came from.
Yeah, it's a racket. Anything that's loud, noisy, fast. I mean, absolutely.
And angry.
Well, the punk head, the punks and the metalheads all go together.
Yeah, I tell you what. When we did a gig in Germany.
Before you continue, I was told to give Matt Bridger a shout out. He tuned in. He's a big YouTuber. So, Matt, thank you for tuning in and subscribe to the channel. I'll subscribe to you. let's work on something in the future, like a collab or something. But continue
Matt
your
Bridger-
story.
Oh yeah, Matt Bridger is the master. He is just, everybody loves Matt Bridger. He is brilliant. If you're into Vegas, then he's the guy to watch. So go and check him out on YouTube, Matt Bridger. Absolutely, yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah. I mean, with rock and punk, as I was saying, yeah, we did a gig in Germany, not Stereotypes, and we went to this bar, and it was all punks, rockers, thrash guys, because it was with Outeractive, techno heads, hippies, and I've never seen anything like that before, because in London it's very specific. You're either this kind of person or that kind of person. But over there, their attitude was, doesn't really matter what kind of music you like, you're alternative, so you're one of us. And I thought to myself, that's brilliant. And that's where I'm coming from, really, is sort of, 5% of people want to be elite. Fine, give me the other 95% then. That's where I want to be. The elite people can go off and do what they want. Us lot, all the weirdos and outsiders, doesn't matter. It can be punk, it can be techno, it can be rock. We're all alternative, and that's where it's coming from.
I'm glad you said that, because my first time seeing Ozzy Osbourne, the lineup was brilliant. It was the band DED, which is like a metalish band. There was Lamb of God, Amon Amarth, which are both like death metal thrash type bands. And then you had Stone Sour, which is like a hard rock band. And then you had Ozzy. Yeah. Like, it was the best of everything.
Hey, you want to talk about a weird show? How about Slayer headlining a hippie festival?
Was that the one with Snoop Dogg?
I think so, yeah. That's got to be weird.
Jeez.
It's like all those hippies, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, and here's Slayer.
Spinal Tap and Puppet Show, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Ashley, if you like a weird blend, we saw Slayer on one of their last shows, like tours, and it was Slayer, Primus, Philip H. Anselmo, and the Illegals, and Ministry.
Yeah. Oh, what a complete mix up. Yeah, I mean, I some of the bands. I mean, the really, really big punk band back in the day was Stiff Little Fingers, an Irish band, and they wrote an amazing album. Probably one of the best punk albums ever. That came out in 1979 when the Stereotypes EP did, and we went to see them, and they were supported by their Irish friends that no one had ever heard of, called U2. I'm afraid the U2 completely blew them off the stage. You can always see when there's something really special with a band.
Definitely.
And I saw them again. Most of the time, I'd see bands, and whether they were big or small, if you're good, you're good, and even whether you make it or not, if you're good, you're good, and
you like Irish folk punk music then, since you mentioned an Irish band?
Not massively. There's only a few bands that tend to do that. With Irish music, it's pretty fast, so I can see where the connection is between that and punk. But I mean, the other thing about punk back in the day was there was absolutely no rules. Nobody knew what was going on. Whereas now it's kind of a set formula, isn't it? It's sort of, the Ramones kind of stereotype formula. But back in 77, there weren't any rules. It was completely new. Nobody. I'll deal with that in a minute. But there wasn't any rules. So if you listen to some of the music that was classed as punk from that time, it's not necessarily punk. It's not necessarily anything. It's just like the record company would say, well, let's give them spiky hair and a safety pin, and we'll say they're punk. But there weren't any rules. And with the gigs, there weren't any rules. And for a good couple of years, it was just the most amazing scene. And then I think for me, the first time I could see that the punk scene was kind of over was I went to a gig at this place called the Roundhouse where I saw, and I think it was the Damned that I saw, as Kathy mentions them. And I went with my friend Gary, and Gary wasn't a punk. He was just some guy that wanted to come along. And you did, Jakes. You did, Jakes. And there were all these guys turned up in these sort of, $40 bondage trousers, really expensive punk clothes. And they were taking the piss out of my friend Gary because he wasn't dressed right. And I thought, this is over, considering it started with all these fucking weirdos dressed up in God knows what, dressed up as a chicken or, a giant orange. They didn't care. It was completely wild.
Not to interrupt you, but isn't punk about going away from the norm, not creating a new norm?
Yeah, absolutely. But it became commercialized, and that kind of changed things. But yeah, I mean, Kathy mentioned the Damned, and Jacob, my best friend from school, and still my best friend, really. Let's be honest. Don't know what he's done to deserve that. But the Damned, as an example, look what they look like. You've got a sort of vampire lead singer, Dave Vanian. So he was the first goth. I went to the first goth club called the Batcave in 1981 in central London. It was run by an artist called Daniel Dax. And Dave Vanian used to turn up all the time. And, he's an inventor, an ideas man. He's come up with this whole image. Captain Sensible with his beret and dyed hair. That was what punk was about. There weren't any rules. It was, you just did whatever you wanted to do. You want to dress up like this, and you were accepted. There wasn't. So for me, when people started judging how you looked at a punk gig, that was kind of the end of it. But not the music. The music lived on. And then I think it was revamped by American bands with the whole punk pop thing, and the influence that they brought, back to the scene. And now, as I say, all the old punk bands like us, we're back to annoy you and make a racket,
like the pop punk bands like Blink 182, Anti Flag, them types of bands, pretty much brought it back.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think in the same way that, heavy rock as a genre had become pretty stale, and Nirvana brought something to it. They really did. They brought something completely different. They mixed the whole sort of stoner scene to the rock scene, brought a bit of energy to it, and that's it. They're always going to be out there in the alternative genre, bands that with different styles of music really bring something to it, and it should be supported, and it should be something that we should stay into, and stop the world becoming corporate.
Yeah, definitely so.
Right, because punk is all about fuck you, this is how I am. It's not about we created our own group.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rebellion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was, things weren't great back in the 70s when it was formed. There was a lot of poverty and there was a lot of frustration. Music had become very, very stale. You were listening to stuff that had fucking 45-minute sort of keyboard solos on it, and that's great. That whole prog rock thing has its place, but if you're 14, you don't really want to listen to someone's sort of technical ability. You want to have some fun. So when punk came along, it just blew everyone away. I mean, it completely blew everyone away. And
that's why
me and all my...
That's why I always say that metal and punk go together, because they have the same mentality.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, in America, I think that that's what the kids were in. Kids got into metal, had the same attitude of you're on the outside. You're not part of the gang. You're not part of the cool kids. You're not, you know, the jocks that you have out there and the cheerleaders and all that stuff. These guys will never fit in, and metal speaks to them, and that's great. And it's the same with punk. All the kids that I were friendly with at school, if they don't mind me saying, weren't the coolest kids, weren't the toughest kids, but they were the smartest kids, and that's what we got into, because we could see, what was going on with it. It was great, and
you got to stick together.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's it. That's the Stereotypes. When we put the album out, get it, listen to it. Hopefully, it will communicate with you. Come and see us. You're all welcome. If you're outside, if you're an outsider, come on the inside with the Stereotypes. You're welcome here.
Now that you mention that, when will we see a Stereotypes live stream?
Well, the first I've heard of it is I got told by Kathy, which is how things work in this household. I get told what I'm doing and then I do it. She told me this afternoon that we should do a live stream. Now, this is a Pink Sock podcast exclusive. I haven't even mentioned it to the rest of the band yet, unless they're watching and they can say they want to do it. But as far as I'm concerned, this is a really, really good idea. So what we can do is I can go over back to Ilford, Essex, because that's where the band still are, where it originally come from. And Pink Sock exclusive. And we can do a live stream, and we can do some of the songs that are going to be on the album, and people can tune in. So I will be in contact with James from the Stereotypes, and let's do a live stream. Why not? It'd be great. It'd be great fun to do it. So
that'd be great.
If you guys want an update on that, they will post it on their social media.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. We will post that. That's going to be that's going to be happening, because from our point of view, we haven't played together for quite some time now, because either I've been in Spain, or it's been a lockdown, or we've had other things to sort out. And we've been concentrating on the album. I've recorded all the vocals over in Spain, and James has done a lot of the work there with the other band members in the UK. So that's been our focus. But now it's done. We want to play live, but it's whether or not we're allowed to. But if we're not allowed to, then we'll just do it anyway and stream it, and then people can get involved. But as I say, if you're an outsider, you're an insider with the Stereotypes.
So
we're all out there.
What's the hopeful release for the debut album? 40 more years from now, or? yeah, probably 40, 50, 60 years. Either it's going to come out this year, or it's going to come out when we can play live and support it. I will speak to the rest.
Is the pandemic getting any better for you guys over there?
No, it's spiking again. There's real issues where I've just come from in Spain. I don't know if Kathy told you, but the day after she arrived back in the UK, Spain was locked down, and it was like martial law there. There were tanks on the street. If you went out, the police fined you. It was super, super heavy. But even with all that going on, it started to spike again. So I kind of sneaked back to the UK. There was sort of a window of opportunity that I took to come back here. But it's really heavy, and it's just not going to get sorted out until they've got some kind of vaccine. We had a trip booked to Las Vegas where we got married, and that got blown out the water. I mean, I don't know what's going on in the States, because Trump seems to have changed his mind.
There's a lot of misinformation going around as far as he's concerned. It's insane.
What happened here is he said when it first started, it's a hoax. It's not real. they're just making it up. And then 2 weeks later, he was like, "It's real. We got to close. We got to close the borders." And then he's like, "But don't wear a mask." And then 2 days ago, he was wearing a mask. He's like, "You're patriotic if you're wearing a mask. I said this whole time that wearing a mask is great."
Fuck. We've got the same in this country. It's just, I want that job. I want to just stand up and say things like, you're all fucking idiots, and then say the next day you're all really clever, and everyone thinks, well, that's okay. And then some people say to me, "But you called us a fucking idiot yesterday." And I say, "No, I didn't." "Oh, okay then." What the hell is that? Where's the accountability? Where's he gone? Just say what you want. Yeah, it's fine, man.
And then say it never happened.
Yeah, that's it. This is a new. I mean, hey, I've got a degree in politics, and I've never heard of this kind of shit before. Have stupid hair, talk a load of shit, lie through your teeth, and everyone thinks you're great. Well, okay, I've missed the trick.
What do you think about these bands that people are starting to hate that were political their whole career, and people are just now starting to hate them for talking politics?
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one because it's interesting as well, because we did write a couple of songs, or James wrote a couple of songs that were going to go on the album that were political, and he then decided, and we talked about it. The problem I have with political songs is they're very much of the time. So you can write something like, for example, about this whole Brexit thing in the UK, with UK leaving Europe. Now, I'm very much against that. Now, I could write a song about that. But the problem is, once it's happened, that song becomes irrelevant. So unless you've got a really, really good sort of political take on what you're doing, what comes across is it's very finite. It's very sort of trapped in the time. So with punk, it was a very political move, but it was all about how people felt. It was expressing anger or how things they were against, or for example, Stiff Little Fingers, they were writing about how shit what life was over in Ireland. It wasn't particularly about this politician or that politician. It was just like, everything's crap, we want it to change. And that politically, that's where I'd go. But I don't know the bands that you're talking about. Who's getting crap over in the States?
Well, here in the States, you're probably familiar with Rage Against the Machine.
Absolutely.
Tom Morello, who has a degree in political science from Harvard, has been talking very openly about his political platform, which he has for the last 25 years. Well, apparently a bunch of people that are supporting Trump are ragging on him, saying, "Stay away from politics. What do you know?" And he's like, "I have a political degree at Harvard, for one. For two, I've been doing this for 20 years. Where have you been?"
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Rage Against the Machine, what a great song that was. And they've got every right. They are I mean, in case you were wondering, it's in the fucking name, isn't it? Rage Against the Machine. It's pretty obvious.
What machine do you think they're raging against? The fucking toaster? Like, what do you think?
Exactly. Everyone said that back in the day, like, the washing machine, naughty washing machine. I'm going to rage against it. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? Is Trump going to win again in November?
It's looking like that.
Really? I mean, why? I think I understand it, but I don't even know what Joe Biden looks like. No one's. I mean, why do you never see him? Why do you only ever see Trump?
Because during this is why I think Trump might win, because Joe Biden, ever since this pandemic came out, he's been hiding. He hasn't been doing anything.
No.
He's leading by double digits in every single poll, but I don't really think that matters at the end of the day.
No,
it doesn't. It doesn't. And prime ministers, presidents, they get voted on. Most people aren't into this kind of stuff.
By
Most
money.
people go. Yeah, but most people, go and do a job and they come home. They don't really give a fuck. So
Mhm.
they'll vote for somebody they know who it is. Like in the UK, they all
Yeah.
knew who Boris Johnson was. They didn't really care what his politics were. They just thought, yeah, he's that funny, silly guy. Yeah, we'll vote for him. And I think that's the danger with Trump. But you need to stand against that. And what I'm not seeing in America is the Democrat candidate standing against him. The political attitude is in this situation is that if someone's such a fuckwit, they're going to mess it all up. Well, apparently in this day and age, you can get away with anything. So that's just not going to happen.
Well,
So yeah, you might be stuck.
the
It's
issue,
almost like this whole thing is like one big bad fever dream.
Absolutely.
The issue I have is this man who is our president can say anything he wants on television with no accountability. A few days ago, he was asked about this woman who was arrested for a child sex ring, and he said, "I wish you the best." Wait, what?
Let's be fair. I think if anybody would have made the comment, grab them by the pussy, it would have killed their career on the spot.
I just, that's the whole point though, isn't it? That we now live in an age whereby you can just you can get away with anything, and that's not a good place to be in, and certainly not somebody that's representing a country. You just don't want that, it just says what kind of person he is, doesn't he? Go on.
The thing about the politics in America is both sides are equally awful. It's like voting for two demons. It's serious. It's awful.
Yeah.
Like you either get to pick this guy who sniffs children, or you get to vote in this guy who don't make any fucking sense.
It has become. I mean, we have a party in the UK called the Monster Raving Loony Party, and that's the one I think people should vote for. It's great because what you have is on election night, so you have local elections. And what they do is they have the Conservatives, who are like the Republicans, and the Labour Party, who are like the Democrats, and they have all these parties standing on stage. So you've got all these ponces in suits, all standing there, the Right Honourable Member for wherever, all standing there, and a fucking chicken standing in the back from the Monster Party. And it's great. It's great. You should check it out on Google. Have a look on YouTube.
We have this guy. We have this guy in America that's an equivalent of that. His name is Vermin Supreme. He wears a rubber boot on his head.
Yeah.
And he's like, every American gets a free pony, and he's like going through all this crazy shit.
Why not? Vote for him. That's my advice. Tony, you're in a band. You're in a band.
Yeah, Psalms of Silence. We're basically a death metal band for a better sense of the word.
They're a melodic Viking death metal band.
Oh, right. Let's check. What kind have you got stuff out there I can check out?
Yeah, all of our stuff is on every single streaming platform you can think of. So like Spotify being the big one, or iTunes, or Google Play, or any of it, really. Yeah, we're even on YouTube. We got the whole album streaming on YouTube.
I'm going to check that out.
You might like it.
No, I'm asking about Psalms of Silence. Thank you very much. Absolutely. I'm going to check that. Are you the drummer?
I'm a rhythm guitar player.
Oh, right. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll definitely want Psalms of Silence and your thrash metal.
Let's get a tour together.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Why not? Why not?
That'd be perfect.
We make a racket. You make a racket. Why not?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So
you can come and play the bongos, Mike.
Yeah,
we were supposed to play in that Battle of the Bands, so we could come over and play at Vaughan.
Oh right, fucking great.
But then the pandemic happened and canceled it all up.
Yeah. blew it all out the water. But,
Yeah.
Speaking of festivals, I'm going to do a little segue
Yeah.
real quick. You played at the For Punk's Sake Festival. How did that come about?
We got asked to do it. It was a charity, homeless charity gig, and we said, you know, we just got back together. Would we play? And we said, yeah, sure, we'll come and play. And when we got there, they said, right, you're the headliner. I'm like, okay. So yeah, we headlined it. It was good. We met some other bands. It was really good fun. We did. We got an encore, and we came on from the encore and did Blitzkrieg Bop by the Ramones, and everyone shouted, "Hey ho, let's go!" So it was, it's a really great show, and yeah, I'm looking forward to playing live again. I'm looking forward to rehearsing, getting back together with the guys. It's one of the main reasons I came back to the UK was, look, if the album's done, promote it, let's get out there, let's play some shows, and that's pretty much what's coming next. We'll get the album out on Detail Records. We will play shows in London, in Manchester, Derby, Milton Keynes, anywhere that wants us, and yeah, abroad. If people want us to come over, we'll come. We don't care. We'll come and play. So yeah, we'll get out there.
How big of a festival was that?
Oh, it's only small. It wasn't a big one. No, it was just a few hundred people. It wasn't anything big. It was just It was good though.
It's still neat that you headlined your first festival in 40 years.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of festival shows, I mean, that is something that we could look into. There are punk festivals, and yeah, I mean, we did well. The big punk festival is Blackpool Winter Gardens, and we did play that. So yeah, that was our first. The size does count. Size of your wallet. What the hell was that festival called? We played a festival. It's like the Big Punk Festival. Kath, what's that festival called? The Damned play it.
So
what's it called?
Here in the States, if you ever want to do festivals here in the States, we have a couple that's pretty big, but we haven't heard of them, but we have mostly festivals that combine all types of rock and metal and punk and.
Oh yeah. I've remembered. It's called Rebellion Festival, and that was like our second or third show. And we went up to Blackpool, and it was the Damned and UK Subs and all the original punk bands. That's the big one. We were asked to play that. That was really good fun, and we'd like to do that again.
Did you ever get connections for the Damned so you can tour with them?
Not at this point, but it's something we can sort out. It's just so difficult. At the moment because you just can't play. I know. If you've ever heard of a guy called Ryan Roxy. I know he's playing today in Sweden.
Nice shout out.
Wish him well. I wish him well with that. I hope it goes really well. It's a brilliant time because he's such a he's such a good musician. But yeah, I mean, Sweden never really locked down, so I don't know if Michael Monroe's doing stuff in Finland. I don't know what their story is out there, but as you know, with America and the UK and Europe, it's just. We're just stuffed at the moment until we've got a vaccine. I think it's going to be this kind of situation. So we just have to sort of get used to it, until there's some kind of backup, there's some kind of security blanket against it, really.
Yeah, I think we're about to lock down again because it's just spiking really hard again.
You guys are you both in Ohio?
Yeah.
Yep.
And what's it like there? What are you allowed to do and what are you not allowed to do?
Well, here's the thing. Our governor is trying to make people wear masks, but everyone is fighting against it because it's our right to not wear one. It's our right to get other people sick. So it's the government versus the people right now.
That's insane. I mean,
yeah, it's stupid.
So, they're not telling you to sort of walk around with your fist shoved up your arse all day, are they? Wear a mask. What's the big deal?
I thought people would be actually kind of excited to walk around looking like you're going to rob a bank.
Well, yeah. the other thing that's really good. The other thing's really good is like you guys have both got beards. You can have a beard, wear a mask, and people not know that you've got a beard, and then it would be a surprise for them. I mean, I didn't have a shave the other day and I had a mask on, and I thought it doesn't matter that I haven't had a shave because you can't see me. So
I think the
yeah,
mask
if I wear a mask, it just ends up looking like a 70s Italian swimsuit model.
Which one?
What's crazy about this whole mask thing is it makes people that are ugly from here down look really good.
Yeah, that's true. That is true as well. Like sort of, I went to a shop yesterday and I was asking some. Kath asked me to get some fuse wire, and she said, "Yeah, you can get it anywhere." It's like, no, you can't. It's from 1963. But nevertheless, I went to this shop and there was a guy serving there, and I asked him if he had fuse wire, and he said, "No, we haven't got any fuse wire. It's like 100 years ago that they used to sell that." And he had one tooth. And I thought to myself, now, if you'd worn a mask, no one would have fucking known, would they? You could have walked around. No, you got one tooth, no mask. Go figure.
Ashley, I love having you on here. We need to do a part 2. This is fucking incredible.
When the album comes out, let's do a part 2. Or I'll bring some other band members on because they're they're worse than me.
We need to do this, and I'm going to set it up. We need to be Pink Sock Podcast needs to be the reunion of the Stereotypes, their first online interview.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm totally going to do that. Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk later. I'll talk rubbish for as long as you like. I don't mind. I'm always available to talk rubbish. Yeah.
Well, you're always welcome on the show. This was a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and cut this because we are running a little over time, which is no big deal. But you guys can follow the Stereotypes on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the UK Stereotypes. Not like the UK Stereotypes, like they like tea or whatever, like the band, the UK Stereotypes.
Yeah. It's happening. UK. So all you people that are watching, we're going to do stuff. And let's face it, you haven't even heard what we're like yet. So you've heard a little bit. And if you go to the website, you hear a little bit more. But all the new stuff that we've done for the album, you haven't heard. So just like the 40 years ago, we're a mystery. So let's see if you can solve it.
Right. It was nice talking to you. Is there anything else you wanted to promote before we end this episode?
No. I just, thank you so much for having me on. I'm honored to be sitting here with such good looking guys, and sorry I'm not as good looking as you, but you're sexy guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just grow your beard out. You'll be sexy like us because you can't tell how ugly we are from here down.
I need to ask me, but I mean, Jesus, I came up with this idea for these masks. Look at that, it's my whole face. But yeah, I'm gonna check out Psalms of Silence. And I'm, one day let's do a gig together, man. And
I'm totally for it.
So that's all. Yeah, let's do it. But if you want to watch the most brilliant program, Pink Sod Pod. No, I haven't. Pink Sod Pod.
That word.
Pink Sock. Sorry, the brain game. See, this is what happens, kids. Be careful. But yeah, Pink Podcast. Watch it every time. It'll always be this good and even better. And I will come back and we will play. We will play live on Pink Sock Podcast, and it'll be good. And you will like it. So there you are.
I appreciate you stopping by the Pink Sock Studio and being our newest Pink Socketeer. That's our name for all of our listeners and fans. We'll
Do I
see
get
you
a
again.
badge?
Yeah, you actually get a pink sock. I come to your house and I fist you and I pull it out. I give
Hey, you got to get it where you can, man. What the hell?
Thank you guys for tuning in. This crazy fucker was Ashley.
Bye, Yeah, sorry.
Go
for being
check out his
crazy
band,
fucker, but I ain't gonna
Stereotypes.
change. Yeah, Stereotypes.
You're
Yeah,
perfect for the
check
show.
them out. Thank
Thank you
you.
guys.
Thank
Throw
you.
up the devil horns and we're heading out. We love you.
Later, buddy.
Bye.